So today on Millionaire Mindset, we're going to continue with the theme of of what it takes to get to the top. We're gonna continue with the theme of what it takes to not stay stuck. It's the same theme that says where many will say, well, just bless me and leave me alone. It's the same type of theme where just yesterday I talked about how I did everything I hate to get here, right? And so as I shared some of that on is it yesterday? I believe it was. It was either yesterday or Tuesday. So everything I hate to get here, bless me and leave me alone. What does it actually take to get to the top? And there's really there's really three things I'm going to talk about, and some of you have heard me talk about this many times. There's discipline, there's diligence, and there's decisiveness. So discipline, diligence, and decisiveness, and those things are key. When we talk about discipline, when we talk about diligence, when we talk about decisiveness, you know what those things are. Discipline is really just being willing to do the thing that is necessary and nothing else until you've accomplished your goal. Discipline. And discipline, when we think about discipline, when I talk about bless me and leave me alone, when I talk about I've done everything I hate to get here, like there are things when you're being disciplined that it, it, they don't necessarily feel good, right? And especially when it comes to business, think about anything that you're doing that you have a goal, right? You have a huge vision for. God's giving you this vision for, and what you're going to be able to accomplish in that vision is going to be something that most people will never be able to accomplish. Like remember, if you're willing to just do what most people for a short time in your life, what most people are not willing to do, then you're going to be able for the rest of your life to do what most people will never be able to do. Right. And so if we want that, it takes discipline. And sometimes inside of that discipline, you're going through things that you may not necessarily hate. When I say I did all the things I hate, you may not hate it, but in my case, I did. There were some things I hated. I'll share those things with you. I've shared them before. But you may just it just doesn't feel good, right? And so for instance, for me, there were some things in the beginning anyway, like cold showers. I hated, like I really did hate cold showers. And then I got to a point where I was taking cold showers every day. There are other things that I like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning for years when everybody else is asleep, knowing that, man, you might be a little bit tired, but you got to get up anyway. Why? And you may not even have something necessarily to do that you have planned, but you still got to get up when everybody else is asleep. And that, like just those two things alone, like I could get into a whole list of things: eating bananas, uh eating meat, What else? I mean, there's a whole list of things. Going out and running in the morning before the sun came up, when it's 30 degrees and freezing rain coming down. Like, there's a whole list of things. But when we talk about just the getting up in the morning and the in the cold showers. Like, I could tell you, like today, I don't hate getting up in the morning, and I don't hate taking cold showers, but I used to. And the reason why I don't now is because I understand how it like I've learned, and this is something that's really important, learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right? Learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Why? Because if you have one of those great visions, these big time goals, you know you're going to run up against things that you've never done before. You're going to run up against things that isn't really fun. You're going to run up against things that's challenging you from a mental perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from a physical perspective. So let me give you a story. Like, so when I and I'll tell you why this is all relevant too. When I first started coaching and formally coaching, like I created like a program and I started coaching and I built, I was looking to build a multi-million dollar coaching program, right? Where I would be able to reach people all over the world and help them with the skill sets and the tool sets and the mindset that I had that helped me to have success in the thing that God blessed me with, and that was in real estate, right? And so coaching was different. Like, if you're coaching people, like one of the things I used to always say is that there's 330 million people in the United States, right? There's 7 billion people in the world. And if like there's someone in my city that I can help, then there's more of those people in every city, in every town, all over the country. And there's even more of those people all over the world. And the key is not so the globe represents all those people who the skill sets, the tool sets, the mindsets that you have, the gifts that you have that need the help, they're there. But you need to know just like how to reach them. You just need to know how to reach them. And actually, even more importantly, you need to know how to have them reach you, because it's going to be a lot harder for you to reach millions of people than it is for having millions of people reach you, because there's only one of you. And if you're trying to chase a million people, it ain't going to work very well. McDonald's is a great example. They served billions of people, but they didn't chase billions of people, did they? No. What did they do? People came to them, right? Same thing with Microsoft and Apple. Like, people didn't, like, Google, Facebook, YouTube, like they didn't chase people. People came to them, and they all serve billions of people. So when you learn how to do that, then now people will be coming to you, and you have the ability to serve by doing what? Doing the same thing that works. That just works, right? Now, but how does the other part apply? The discipline. Well, when I first started doing it, I had people reaching me, coming to me. And I'm talking to people every day, like hour after hour after hour after hour after hour after hour, just helping people. By the time you get to about 3 or 4 o'clock and you've spoken to 10, 15 different people, and you're training them, like your body is just that you can't go anymore. And in the beginning, like my body in the beginning, my mind was like my throat was hurting, like it was tough. But I knew I had to do it. Like, I desired to transition from traditional real estate, where I'm generating my millions of dollars with traditional real estate, where I'm able to transition into online, like the online marketplace, where I'm helping people all over the world, and I'm able to do that online. And so in order to transition into that, like I needed to know how to help people. So I had to talk to a lot of people. And when my body was telling me no, like enough is enough, I had to keep going. Right? It didn't feel good. Well, cold showers is something that I hated, but cold showers are not bad for you. They're actually good for you. So I realized that I start taking cold showers. My body's saying no. It ain't that it's bad for me. My body's just saying it's uncomfortable. Stop doing it. So what did I say? No, I'm not going to stop doing it because you need to get used to doing things that are good for you, and get comfortable doing things that are uncomfortable. Right? That and then what was the other? Same thing with the runs, the early morning runs. Now, getting up early at 4 o'clock in the morning, that was a whole nother thing. It was the same kind of thing, but my body was saying no, but I had to train the body, train the mind. No, I'm in control, not you. Just because it doesn't feel good doesn't mean we're going to stop. Think about what your brain is designed to do. Our brains, we were born with brains that are designed to protect us. And they're protecting us from what? From dying. So if the brain is designed to protect us from dying, then it's gonna have all these things, both consciously and subconsciously, where it's gonna send out these signals that make you uncomfortable, like stop you in your tracks, right? And when you're doing things that not necessarily are going to hurt you, but because it's unfamiliar and it doesn't feel good, you got all these things that are going to be firing off in your brain that it doesn't feel good. Stop, like uh, danger, danger, Will Robinson, right? Like that. And you had to learn to retrain your mind and your body. And so at 4 o'clock in the morning, when I'm getting up, I started getting up because I knew I had my traditional real estate business that at about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, my phone gonna start ringing. But also my wife. My wife, I like to, like at the time she was working, and I used to like to get up every morning and make her coffee and do something, make her something to eat before she went off to work. Make sure she got off okay. I did that every morning. Right. I even did it with the kids when they were in college, when they were in high school. I made them bag lunches every day, not because we couldn't afford it, but because I just wanted to have my special touch. It's so funny because my kids, they used to get like they used to get awards for like the most nutritional lunches sitting, right? And people would trade them for their lunches, and I heard that they used to make money on their lunches. It's weird. Like I didn't know this stuff until more recently because I maybe they didn't want to hurt my feelings back then. Because I would get up every morning and make them lunches up until the last day of high school. And at the last day of high school, I will put my own little note in there that talked to them about how honored I was as their father to be able to do this for them. And I did it for each one of my kids. Well, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I knew that in order to be able to get the things accomplished that I needed to get accomplished, I had to do them before the phone started ringing. I had to do them before I needed to pay attention to my wife and my kids, right? And by the time 8 o'clock hit or 7 o'clock hit, when everything started to happen, I had already gotten the full day in. What did I do during that full day? Well, the first thing I did was this. The first thing, right? You can't miss this piece. This piece is important. Getting in the Word of God, getting in prayer, right? And that's one thing. I would also work out, and then I would just really just sit and think for a little bit, and then strategize. Look at my plan from the previous day. All right, plan tomorrow, today. So look at the plan from the previous day, and then follow through with that. Right. So that's what I did. And I don't know if you know Michael Phelps. Most of y'all might know Michael Phelps. He's the highest decorated Olympic athlete in history. And Michael Phelps, he said that when they asked him, what is it that got you here? And he said, well, it was discipline and repetition. And he said there were every morning, his routine was get up and get in the pool. And he said it. He said whether it was Christmas, Thanksgiving, his routine every day was get up and get in the pool. No matter how much he did not want to do it, he would still just get up and get in the pool. Some days he had a plan when he got in the pool. Some days he didn't have a plan. He just got in the pool. He said, but if you're there, then something's going to happen. If you're just used to getting up and doing it, something's going to happen. So every day, his routine was get up and get in the pool. And that's how I thought about it. Get up and get in the pool. Get up and get at it. Right. And so that was a discipline. That's a discipline. Now, being diligent is a whole nother piece, right? Because the diligent is actually following through and doing the things that are necessary, right? Being diligent and taking care of the things that are important, getting rid of the things that also aren't important, being diligent, being able to follow through with the things that you must do, not things that you can do, but that you must do. And going back to discipline, another piece of discipline is clearing away all the noise. Oh my gosh. Think about all the stuff you want to do. Think about all the things we want to do every day. And when we have great intention, there's always going to be disruption, first of all, but there's always going to be, you ever heard of the term shiny object syndrome? There's always going to be these shiny objects. Have you ever heard of the term, the grass always looks greener on the other side, right? You're going to have that where it's like, well, what if we do this? Or what if we do that? One of the most important things is being disciplined. I had a coach, his name was Sam Ovens. Sam was from New Zealand, young guy. He was, when he started coaching me, I worked with Sam for about 4 or 5 years. When he started coaching me, he was what, 33? I was what, 53? No, what am I now? 57, 58. So I was what? Yeah, 50 years old, I think, 50, 51, something like that. And like Sam is so disciplined. He's like a robot. And um and I just learned by watching him and listening to him that how important discipline is in the sense of getting rid of all the noise. And I must say, honestly, over the last 6 or 7 months, 8 months, I've kind of gone away and I got so much more noise around me. And it just like I'm just like I gotta fight so hard to protect because the noise is such a distraction where you can't perform at your highest level. Your levels of creativity go down, your levels of motivation go down, your levels of inspiration go down, right? Your levels of transformation go down. And so it's key, and a big part of that is also being disciplined as to who you're allowing to feed you, right? The circles that you're in, and not falling into the trap of the shiny object syndrome, right? Not falling into the trap of it's greener on the other side, the grass, right? So being discipline, being diligent in taking care of the things you need to take care of, and then decisiveness. Like make a decision. And then I'm gonna get into something because when we talk about making decisions, like I'm not just talking about making decisions and just going on feelings and emotions, right? I'm talking about making decisions based on first, hopefully, is based on the word of God. That's what I'm going to tell you. So when it talks about bless me, when I say bless me and leave me alone, that's what some people want. Some people just want, all right, Lord, you bless me with this business, you bless me with this money, you bless me with this wife, this woman, this husband, like you bless me with these things. Now leave me alone. I got this. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. You when he blesses us with these things, it's the same mindset that Solomon had. Even though he may not visit you in a dream and say, hey, tell me, what is it? I'm going to give you one thing you could ask. What is it you want? He may not do it that way, but he's doing it. And we have to be sensitive to his voice because he wants us to talk to him every day. But the key thing, and why Solomon was so successful, right? Why Solomon was, there was no one that walked the face of the earth that had the wisdom that Solomon had, that had the money that Solomon had. And even though his father David was a beast when it came to conquering lands and growing Israel, David had to fight all his life. And yet, because of what Solomon did, Solomon had to fight no battles. He took over the throne, and throughout his whole reign, he didn't have to fight any battles. But it was because of what he did. When God asked him that question, are you doing the same thing? You want to know what he did? This is what he did. God said, what is the one thing you want? And Solomon said, well, Lord, I don't even deserve this kingdom. Like, I'm just a young boy. What, like, how can I, like, I don't even know how to lead your people. So can you bless me with the wisdom to lead your people in a way that's going to please you? And God was like, you get it. Because most people would have asked for what? They would have asked for a whole bunch of money. They would have asked for long life. Even you saw your dad going through all these trials, right? Everybody trying to kill your dad, like your dad, but you didn't ask for death to your enemies. You didn't ask for that either. Most people would have asked for that. What did you ask for? You asked to be able to use the gift that I blessed you with and have the wisdom to use it in a way that's going to please and honor me. So guess what I'm going to do, Solomon? The wisdom that you asked for, I'm going to give it to you. In fact, I'm going to give it to you more than I've given it to anyone ever. And then the other things you didn't ask for, which is wealth, death to your enemies, long life, I'm going to give you all that too. And I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you in measures that are far greater, where you're going to be the wealthiest man that's ever walked the face of the earth. And you'll have long life as long as what? As long as you follow my precepts, my commandments, as your father did. Now, David made a whole lot of mistakes, but what did God say about David? He was a man after his own heart. Why? Because he never, when he made those mistakes, it wasn't about, oh, I'm going to make up excuses, Lord. I made that mistake. He didn't say, bless me and leave me alone. Solomon didn't say, bless me and leave me alone. They were like, okay, I made these mistakes, Father. How can I use these gifts to continue to honor you? But whatever price I have to pay, just let it come from your hand and not the hand of man or my enemy. Because I know that you're a gracious God. You're a merciful God. So when we have these gifts, what are we doing? Is it about how smart we are or how smart we think we are? Is it about how much experience we have? Because that experience don't compare to his. Is it about doing it all yourself? I got this, God. Or is it about, okay, Lord, you tell me to acknowledge you in all my ways and you will direct my path. You'll make my path straight. That's what I want. You tell me to delight myself in you, that you will give me the desires of my heart. Like, that's what I want. Put your desires in my heart. Hey, you tell me these things, like allow me to be that. So now when we start talking about decisiveness, be decisive about hearing him, about following him, about honoring him in the gifts that he's given you. And when we can do that, now it won't be about the things that you've done that you hate the most, because now, like, it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that those things won't be, because you're still going to walk into places and doing and being in spaces where it ain't gonna feel good. But if you're being decisive because you've you're honoring him. If you're being decisive because you're listening and he's directing your path, if you're being decisive because you're trusting him with everything. He gave it to you, he could take it back. If he takes it back, if he lose it, he could give it all back. He did it with Job. He used Job as an example for a reason. He allowed the enemy to take it all away. God didn't take it away. He allowed the enemy to take it all away. So that what? He can not only strengthen that relationship with Job, but for something even greater, he can strengthen his relationship with all of us who know that story thousands of years later, can see that example thousands of years later and know that God is always there. And the enemy can't touch us. Nothing can happen. If he says it's for us, no one can take it from us. And if they do, it's only because he allowed it for a reason. And guess what he did with Job? He gave it back to him double, twofold. Look at what he did with Abraham. You just look. Look at what he did with David and then his son. Look at what he did with Joseph. So, and all of there's a number of other examples. Right? So if that's the heart, and you're being decisive that way, then you cannot fail. We can't fail, right? So discipline, diligence, decisiveness. And in all those things that don't feel good, that others that are looking around you going, I can't believe he's doing that. That's crazy. Then you're not even thinking about it that way. Like you're living in joy, right? You got peace. You understand. Why? Because you know he got this. He can't fail. And everybody else, they're like, oh my gosh, there's no way I would do that. I could do that. Yeah, because they're doing it in their own strength. Let's not do this in our own strength. He will strengthen you. It's the joy of the Lord is our strength. He'll strengthen you. He prepares the way. He prepares the way. And so let's not have the attitude of bless me and leave me alone. Let's not have the attitude. Let's have the attitude of, yeah, we'll do the things that we hate to get there, but eventually we won't hate those things. Like I love cold plunges now. I don't hate them. Why? Because I know why I do them. I know the power in it. He says in James, consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face trials of many kinds. Why? Because the testing of your faith develops perseverance. He's maturing us. He says, and perseverance must finish its work. Why? So that you may be made mature, not lacking anything. Mature, perfect, not lacking anything. That's what we want, right? And so it sounds opposite of what everything is like in the world. It's the opposite of what we learn. It's the opposite of what most people do. It's the opposite of what most business books teach you. It's the opposite of what, if you got your MBA, what they teach you. It's the opposite. But what does God say? He says, your ways are not my ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, my thoughts higher than yours. Right? Just like his peace, his wisdom surpasses all understanding. Most people looking at you might think that's why are you in a lot of circles where people think, well, or are you around people where people just think you crazy when you start talking about your vision? His thoughts are not your thoughts. His ways are not your ways. Your thoughts are not his. Neither is their thoughts his thoughts. His ways are not their ways. It's higher. And if he's giving you vision, it ain't for anybody else to understand. But you got to be disciplined. We have to be disciplined. We have to be diligent and decisive to carry through with what he's telling us to do, doing our part, not relying on our own knowledge. Trust not in your own understanding. Lean not in your own understanding, he says. But in all your ways, he says, acknowledge him. all of our ways. Trust in the Lord, lean not on your own understanding. He tells us that. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct our paths. When we're doing that, everybody else is going to say, y'all crazy. Think about what he did. He gives us so many examples. He parted the sea for Moses. He there's so much that he's done. Look at Saul. Like when we think about Saul, I'm talking about Paul, not King Saul. I'm talking about Paul. What happened with Paul? Paul was all those things. Paul was so much on fire for the thing that he thought he was doing properly. He just wasn't hearing God's voice. He thought he was doing it for God. He just wasn't hearing God's voice. He was hearing his own voice. Paul was a smart man. He was on fire and passionate. But what he was on fire and passionate about was twisted. And it was his thing. It was his Pharisees thing until Jesus came and said, "Hey, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" So I was like, "What? Lord, how am I persecuting you?" He says, "Because I am Jesus, who you are persecuting." And he's like, "Oh my goodness." He says, "This is what I need you to do. Go do this. This person will let you know that they said you ain't hallucinating. The scales will fall off your eyes. And then I'll tell you what to do next." And you know what? That fire that Saul had, changed him into Paul. And that fire now, the Lord was able to do amazing things through him because he was on fire for the right thing. And it wasn't about how special he was, how smart he was, how passionate he was. It was about, Lord, how can I use this gift to honor you, to serve people in a way that honors you? And Paul got it all after that. So, and he had to do a whole lot of things he hated. Had to go to prison, had to get beat, had to do all these different things that he hated. And in his case, like he was still full of joy. So are we going to be full of joy when we're going through the fire? Are we going to be full of joy when we're doing the things we hate? Are we going to learn to love the things that we hate because we know that in that he's building us, he's growing us? And are we going to no longer say, "Lord, bless me and leave me alone"? No, bless me and grow and draw nearer, because I'm drawing nearer to you, because I can't even do this even a little bit by myself. Right. So with that, listen, I just want to wrap it up. I hope this was helpful. If it was, subscribe to the channel. I don't know if anyone has any questions. If you got any questions, I'll open up for some questions. And we could chat a little bit. However, I do have a session tonight in about, what time is it? With my inner circle members, my Airbnb mastery members. That's a private session on Zoom. My private Zoom session. You guys know the link. I'll see you there at 7. If there's anyone that has any questions, and if that was helpful, let me know. Type in the comment. Let me know, because I love to see your comments. But again, subscribe to the channel. But here's the way, like, you could best. You could share it, but here's the way you could best thank me. Just implement the stuff. Like, implement. Like, I want you to subscribe. I want you to comment. I want you to share. But if you doing all that stuff and you ain't implementing yourself, don't implement if God didn't give you a vision. If you have no vision, then just chill for a bit, right? And take some time and spend some time just in meditation and prayer. But if you do have vision, then that's the greatest way that you can thank me, is implement. Don't get stuck and stay stuck in doing your own thing. Don't get stuck and stay stuck doing it the old way. Don't get stuck and stay stuck in your own power, right? Make it about him. And when you do that, watch how amazing the things he'll be able to do through you, with you, in you, and for you. Right. And that's it. So if there's no questions, then I'm going to sign off. I'll see you guys on the next video. God bless you. And for those of you in mastery, Janelva, make sure you're there in the mastery. You need to be there tonight in the session. Okay. So if you don't have the links and you're one of my mastery students, make sure you text me, and then I'll make sure you got the link for the 7 o'clock teaching. What's up, Tony? God bless you, brother. That's it. That's all we got. I love you guys. You got this. God bless you. I'll see you soon.